Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maxine. Today we are going to be talking about the different ways that tutor.com can actually help boost your grades. So we will be getting started with that in just a couple of minutes. I think some more folks are going to be joining. But while we're waiting, there are a couple of things that I wanted to let you know. First is if you have any questions whatsoever at any point throughout this webinar, there is a question box attached to your control panel. You're going to be able to submit those, and at the end I'll be able to go through them. So whether you want me to review a resource that I mentioned, or if you have any questions about what is available to you, just let me know and I'd be happy to do that. Additionally, I am sending a link in the chat for all of y'all, but this is just a link to a SurveyMonkey that when you have the chance after the session or towards the end of the session, if you can fill that out, that would be great. But again, we will be getting started in just a couple of minutes, so just sit tight. All right, it looks like we can go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Maxine. I'm a client services specialist over at tutor.com. And today we're going to be talking about the program and kind of the different ways you can use it to improve your grades, especially as report cards may be coming around, or if you just want to kind of get a head start on your next report cards. So the first thing that you're going to do in order to actually access the program is head to the Discus site. So once you're here, as you can see, I can view all the resources. If I scroll down, there are some other features over here, which you can actually find the tutor.com link that way as well. But the easiest way to do that is just go to A to Z resources, then scroll all the way down to T, because that is what starts tutor.com. Click this link here. And once you click that link, you'll be brought over to something that looks pretty similar to this. Now, once you're in the program, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One, right now you're going to be accessing as a guest. So right now as a guest, all I have access to is connecting with a tutor. And one of the cool things is you can actually connect with them 24/7. So really whenever it is that you need help, you can get that help. So I can connect with them anonymously. But if I want any of the other features that are up top here, I will have to create an account, and it'll kind of tell me, hey, create an account. And creating an account is super simple. All you do is click create an account, and then you type in whatever information it's asking. So for your first name, your email address, your password, your date of birth, which is very important. If you are 13 years of, or younger, we actually recommend that your parents create an account for you under their information and kind of have it be a family account. And the reason is if you want to connect and talk to a tutor and like speak to them back and forth with your voice, you do need to have an account. So that is one important thing to keep in mind. But once you're done, you just fill out all this information and hit create an account. Now, I already have one, so let me actually sign in and hopefully it remembers all my information. Awesome. And now you can see the top navigation bar, everything else is bolded. That means now that I have an account, I have access to it all. But the first main thing that probably you're going to be using is connecting with a tutor now. So again, you just click connect with a tutor now, and then you just fill out this pre-session survey. And this just allows us to know what kind of information you're going to need ahead of time so we can make sure we pair you up with the correct tutor. So for example, if I was in high school and I was always struggling with chemistry, so if I wanted chemistry help, I would just choose science as my topic, and then under subject, I'd boil that down to chemistry. And now this is the same thing with if you wanted algebra help or trigonometry help, you would just choose the topic that it correlates to, so math, and then the subject, trigonometry or algebra, whatever class that you're in. But if we're going back to the chemistry example, so once I fill out what topic I actually need help in, I choose my grade level. And this is important because teaching a 12th grader is very different than teaching a 7th grader or 8th grader. And we want to make sure that your session is tailored specifically to you. So you just fill that out. I would put adult because now I am an adult. And then how you want to connect with your tutor. And this is where creating an account is incredibly important, especially for those complicated subjects like chemistry. If you want to have that voice session where you're able to talk back and forth with your tutor, not having to worry about typing everything, you can do that if you have an account. Otherwise, you will only be able to connect with chat only. And then once you do that, you just type in your question. And this can be as generic or as specific as you need. So, really, for example, if I'm struggling with covalent bonds, I can specifically say, hey, I'm struggling with covalent bonds. Can you run me through some questions to help me out? And they'll be able to do that. Or if I'm struggling with an actual homework assignment, I can instead, type up that question, even attach the homework assignment itself, so that the tutor can see all the information and walk you through that problem step by step to get you to that solution. And then you can use that as a basis for any of your other homework assignments if you're doing any sort of studying. All of that is what you can do. But you just type in what it is you need and then hit connect now. And then in about a minute or so, you'll be brought over to our tutor.com classroom. And this is what it looks like. It's pretty self explanatory. If you've done any kind of remote learning in the past couple of years now, you're probably going to be pretty familiar. But whatever it is that I draw, the tutor is going to be able to see, and vice versa. So it's a very collaborative environment that you're going to be working in. And some of the cooler features that you can do, for example, are you can again import images. So if you take a picture of your homework assignment, you can put that in here, and then the tutor is going to be able to work based off of that. As well, you're not going to have to worry about flipping through your notes or anything to find the correct information. We also have the ability to drag in different formulas. So let's say you're working on the slope of a line, you can bring that in, throw it in the top corner, and then now again, you're not having to worry about remembering the actual formula. You don't have to flip through your notes. Everything is going to be right there in front of you. And then the coolest thing, in my opinion, is the shapes. So obviously, if you're working on, let's say, the circumference of a circle, you can throw a circle in there, or a triangle if you're working on that kind of stuff. But we actually allow you to plot some more simple uh, graphing problems. So for example, I could just bring in this graph paper, change the whiteboard background from plain white to graph paper, and then I can expand this, line up the lines, and once I do that, I can start doing whatever plotting it is that I needed to do. So again, there's a lot that you can do within this classroom. A cool thing also is you never have to really worry about running out of space. So let's say this math problem that I'm working on is taking a very long time. There's a lot of work involved with it, but there's not enough space here. I could just create another whiteboard and then start fresh and continue the problem. And you can keep doing this over and over again. And one of the things to keep in mind is you're never going to be losing any of that information. So basically, you could flip back and forth if you need to while you're still working on that problem with your tutor. Next up, for the more complicated graphing problems, we actually have a graphing calculator in here. And this just makes it easier so that you as a student don't really have to worry about trying to explain something that's happening on your TI-84 or TI-89 calculator that you don't understand. Because as someone who has had to do that before many times, it is incredibly frustrating. Instead, you can just work on it live with a tutor, and you actually have access to all the trig functions and stat functions. Really, whatever it is that you need is going to be within this graphing calculator. Next up, if you're working on, let's say, an English paper, or you're doing some sort of writing, you can actually still use this classroom. I know it looks mostly like it's for, math stuff, maybe some chemistry stuff, but you can use this for a whole lot of different things, including social studies or any sort of writing that you're doing. You can copy and paste whatever you're working on and throw it in here. And then that way, the tutor is going to be able to highlight things, bold things for you to change. You can work again collaboratively at the same time, and this essentially works like Google Docs. So if you've ever used that, you're going to be right at home with the text editor. If you're doing anything that is more format specific, so usually I kind of run to bibliographies or citations, you can just share a file, and if you upload the file and send it over, the tutor is going to be able to download that and then share their screen. So they're going to be able to pull up whatever work it is that you are working on and then work with you that way. And those are the main features of the classroom. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, if I were to have a chat-only session, this is where I would be chatting with them. Obviously, nobody's going to respond because I am just kind of in this practice classroom. But if I were working on a more complicated chemistry question, or if I was doing some kind of paperwork, then I can actually connect again with a voice tutor if I have an account created. And what that will look like is there will just be a pop-up on your window saying like, hey, connect your audio device. If you don't have an audio device or maybe your laptop's mic is broken, you can actually use your phone to call into a toll-free anonymous number, and that will connect you to your tutor that way. So we do kind of address the technology issues that some people may run into. And then when you're done with your session, you just hit end session. And we have a little survey that will pop up again, not right now because I'm in the practice classroom, but a survey will pop up asking what you thought, as well as giving you the option to email a transcript to someone. So this is going to be helpful if you don't decide to create an account. If you want to access as a guest, you can email yourself the transcript. That way you can always return to that at a later point in time if you're studying or working on another homework assignment with similar questions. If you have an account, all of that information is going to automatically be saved, so you don't really have to worry about it. We just added that feature since we know some people maybe don't want to create an account, but they still want to have that information. Now, heading back over here, again, we have a bunch of different topics. So math, science, English, social studies. We even have different world languages. So if you're taking a Spanish class, you can work with the tutor that way. One of the coolest things that is actually available, though, is our study skills coaching. So I know for me, it was very tough in high school to take notes or to actually study effectively. And I can only imagine the kind of stress that will give you if you're kind of switching between virtual, in person, hybrid during your school. So we actually have a bunch of tutors that specialize in these kind of topics on how to stay organized, how to take notes, how to deal with time management, since that can be a huge issue in and of itself. So you can actually connect with a tutor on these study skills coaching topics and kind of improve that way as well. So while maybe not all of these you are going to be kind of relevant to you, the study skills coaching is probably always going to be helpful. And additionally, if you or anybody you know prefers to learn in Spanish, we actually have the ability to switch over into Spanish tutors. So if you wanted to work with a Spanish tutor or get tutoring in Spanish as your primary language, you can just switch over to Espanol, and that will change this page to Spanish. And again, we have all of these different subjects: math, science, social studies. We have writing in Spanish along with those study skills options in Spanish so that everybody can get the help that they need. And again, tutoring is available now 24/7. So really, whenever it is that you need help, you can get help. The next feature, again, I mentioned you are going to need to create an account for, but submitting a paper is going to be a godsend, especially when you really struggle in terms of creating drafts or improving on your writing. So the way that this works is you just click submit a paper for review, and then you fill out the information. What a surprise. You put in the topic, where you are in the writing process. And my favorite thing is, depending on where you are in the writing process, like let's say I'm starting out this paper at the very beginning, I could just click, I think it needs a lot of work, and boom, it pops up a little basically survey saying, what do you want your tutor to focus on? So I know, for example, I always got points off on my paper for my grammar and sentence variety, or maybe sometimes it was sentence construction. So I can highlight those two options so that my tutor can focus on that and make sure that I'm getting the help that I need, not just this general advice, but the help that I want specifically. Then you type out your actual assignment so that our tutors have an idea of what you're being graded on. Again, that way they can give you more specific help, and then you upload your file. And in about 12 hours, though in my experience it's much quicker, it's usually about like 4 to 6 hours, you'll see something that looks like this. And we try to make it as easy as possible for students to understand. We color code it, we break it down into different subjects. So for example, your thesis statement, you can see kind of where you are in that process. If you scroll down, your essay structure is a whole different rubric. And in each of these rubrics, again, we do kind of tell you where you are in the process, as well as provide some general feedback for you. And we can even link out to different resources if we think that would be helpful. But the thing that is coolest about this is the reviewed document. So if I were to click this, this would download a copy of my paper that has a bunch of notes taken on it. So as you can see, this is an example drop off that we've submitted in the past. And what the tutor does is they'll highlight different passages and then give you comments in the feedback. And as you can see, this tutor had a lot of feedback for this student. So again, you'll be going through your paper and seeing what your tutor is highlighting, what they think needs most work, and then they'll give you the feedback and kind of give you some guidance on what to do to improve your writing. The tutor's not going to actually do the paper for you, but they're going to give you all the information that you need in order to get there. And again, you can submit these, and if you submit them midday, chances are by dinner time, you're going to have a copy back at you. So it is a quick turnaround time, and this is a resource that is available whenever you need. And it's probably going to be a godsend for any English or social studies classes that you're taking. Next up, for anybody who's struggling in math, which I know I would have been, you can actually submit, similar to submitting a paper, you can submit a math question. So let's say I have a homework assignment that's due at the end of the week, and it's all in the same types of questions, but I cannot wrap my head around how to actually do them. I can choose my topic. So again, let's say I'm trigonometry, that was my weakest math course. You choose your grade level, and then you type out your question. And again, you can attach a file. So if you take a picture of your homework assignment, let's say there are graphs involved, you can do that and submit that so the tutor gets all the information that they need. Or you can actually draw out some of your problems, and we give you a tiny little whiteboard here that you're just able to kind of show your work or kind of illustrate what your issue is. And then you can submit it. And we allow for one submission every 24 hours, and you get a step-by-step instructions on how to actually solve the question at hand. So for example, we have it visual and written out for you so that we kind of can address whatever kind of preference you may have. And as you scroll down, you'll see you can even open up the image, kind of get a better view and see all the different work that they're doing. And again, this is perfect for maybe you don't feel like connecting with a tutor. You can submit a question and then that will get back to you. And then you can use this as the basis for your studying or for, a homework assignment that you have. And the tutor is going to get you all the way through that problem. And again, actually, with the submitting a paper and dropping off a math question, all of that stuff gets saved to your account as well. So if like in 3 months, let's say you wanted to go back and review some math question that you've done, you can do that, and that is going to be available to you. The next thing that I want to show off is our practice quizzes. Now, this is a little bit different because while it isn't exactly going to give you tutoring, it can help you gauge where you are in your learning process and if you need tutoring on a subject. And we have a bunch of different subjects in here. Let's say, for example, again, in chemistry, I wanted to take a short little quiz on the mole and conversion. Now, I don't even remember what any of this is, but if I were to take the quiz and fill out, oh wow, chemistry was so much more complicated than I remember. Basically, you can just answer all of these questions like any sort of online quiz. I'm going to hit finish quiz because again, I'm not going to actually be able to do any of that. But once you're done, you'll get your score. You can review your answer. And if you actually filled things out, it'll tell you what your answer is or what the correct answer is. But if, let's say, you're still struggling on question number 1 and you don't know how you got to that answer, you can hit discuss with the tutor, and that will kind of fill out all of this information for you so that you don't have to worry about, again, trying to explain something you don't understand to a tutor. We try to simplify that as much as possible. And the tutor is going to have access to the entire quiz, all the images that are involved in that. And all you have to do is hit, well, you're going to have to choose your grade level. But once you finish that, you just hit connect now, and then boom, you're going to be able to work with a tutor. And as you can see, once they load, all of my quizzes that I've done in the past get saved here. So I can kind of see if I'm improving in my quizzes, if I'm falling behind. And again, I can review or retake any quiz that I've already taken. So there are there's a lot of information here that you can use with your tutors or to just kind of gauge where you're at. And then the last things that I wanted to mention, and this is just because I know not everybody maybe is comfortable or feels like talking to a tutor at that time. We have a huge video library for you guys. So while this says prep for the AP exams, don't don't get it wrong. A lot of this is probably going to be information that's really helpful for anybody taking a biology class or a calculus class, anything like that. Because while the first videos are specific to the test itself, if you scroll down, you'll see things like how natural selection works, surface area, properties of water, all of these things that you're going to be going over in an actual biology class. And these are short, like 5 to 15 minute videos created and taught by teachers, so it's going to be done in a way that actually makes sense to you. And then similarly, we have what I like to call early edge videos. These are, typically made for more of a middle school audience, but if you're taking any class and you're struggling with the fundamentals, these videos are going to be amazing. They go over all of the different math skills and language art skills that you really need to succeed in both middle school and high school. And again, they're short videos, 5 to 10 minutes maybe, created and taught by teachers. So it's a really nice bite-sized format for you to kind of digest and use as you see fit. So those are the main features that are probably going to be the best when it comes to boosting your actual grade. Again, all of this is going to be available to you 24/7. If you want to access submitting a paper for review, dropping off a math question, taking a practice quiz, you're going to need to create an account, which is a super simple process yet again. But the last thing that I did want to show you, and these aren't necessarily going to help your grades, but it is going to make it easier for you to prepare for any sort of tests or anything like that. So the first thing is, as I've mentioned, all of your information will get saved, or all of your session information will get saved. So you can always go back through, let's say, the last 3 months of sessions, see a specific one that you've talked about for covalent bonds in chemistry, for example, and you can review that. It's going to have all the images of the classroom that you've done. So again, any work that you've done is going to be saved for you to view at a later time. If you had a chat session, the entire transcript is going to be there. And if you were actually talking back and forth with the tutor, you'll have access to that recording. So you'll be able to hear yourself talking back and forth with the tutor, and you can follow along that way as well. And then your favorite tutors. And this is just a way for any of you who maybe want a little bit more consistency. I know, for example, for me in high school and even in college, I always struggled where my teachers weren't teaching in a way that worked for me. So it can be difficult to find someone that does teach in a way that works for you. But let's say you find a tutor that you really liked, you'll be able to save that tutor, see when they're going to be working again, and then in the future, if they are available, you can actually connect with them. So it's again a great way for some consistency if that's something that you feel like you need in your education practice. But those are those main features that I wanted to go over today. If there are any questions, there is a question box and a chat that you can submit those through, and I'd be more than happy to answer. I can go over anything that you'd like me to go over again. Otherwise, I'll send it once more in the chat, but there is a survey monkey that I'd love for you to fill out if you get the chance. And this will just provide some more information to us on trainings and what you guys find helpful. So I've sent that in the chat. But yeah, I'll keep the floor open for a couple of minutes. Otherwise, thank you again so much for joining today. I hope you found some of this information helpful and you're going to be able to kind of take it back into your own education and use it to kind of boost your grades a little bit over the next year. But yeah, so thank you. And if you have any questions, let me know. So one question I did see just come in regarding the tutoring hours. So I did mention that this is going to be available 24/7, but someone wanted to know if the Spanish hours are the same, if they're 24/7, or if they're more specific. all of our Spanish tutoring, or you can get Spanish tutoring 24/7 in math, science, and social studies. For these other subjects like writing in Spanish or those study skills, it is only between, I believe, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. And that's because they're just brand new subjects, so they are a little bit more limited. But we do expect that to kind of change and in the future expand to 24 hours. But again, if you're predominantly Spanish speaking or that's what you're comfortable learning in, and you need help in math, science, or social studies, you can get help in that 24/7. All right, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. If anything else does come up, there will be a follow-up email sent out in about 24 hours that has a link to the recording. And you can always just respond to that, and I might be able to help you that way. But again, thanks so much for joining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.